Hello, this is Greg Allison, Green Greg's, coming to you on the 23rd of January 22. Time on deck is 4800 hours Central Daylight Time, Standard Time, excuse me. And I'm coming to you from the worm beds, and we're going to talk about moles. Moles are the #1 enemy of a worm farmer. At least in my experience, the moles are my #1 enemy. I have spent a lot of time and a lot of money, I don't mean a little bit, I mean a lot, to build what should be mold-proof habitats here for my worms, mold-proof in-ground beds. The problem is I've had 2 of them now that have been breached by moles. Now you'd be surprised what the mole holes look like, because you probably wouldn't recognize them. You might think they're snake holes. So I'm going to go all into showing you what your mole holes are and what to look for. And as you know, moles are, not moles, yeah, they're the #1 enemy, the #1 enemy. Moles can take a worm bed like any of these and totally decimate it and eat every worm out of it in 2 weeks flat. And killing them and stopping them is extremely difficult once they get in. So we're going to go all into that. So I've done everything I can to keep them out, but occasionally they find a way in. If they can find any way in, they will get in, absolutely. And if there's the slightest little crack, that's why if you're building them, you got to pay high attention to what you're doing. And if you got hired hands, you probably need to watch them all the time, but you probably can't. That's why you hire people, right? So it takes a lot of attention. So I'm going to cover more topics on worm farming as we go. I haven't stopped at it, just slowed it down a little bit because I'm not selling worms until late spring at best. And because of moles, it may be a little bit later because they're messing me up. Moles will tear you up, they will wipe you out, and that's a problem. So subscribe to my channel, bang the notification bell, and click all to get more videos from my channel. I will be covering more stuff on worms and gardening. As you know, worms are one of the best things you can have for your gardening, for composting, because worms are nature's little garden tillers, and worm casting is the best thing you put in gardening. If you use worm farms, you don't need to go to town to buy any kind of fertilizers or pesticides, because if you pay attention to what I cover in this channel. So, and by the way, the best place right now is a good time to get your seeds, because with all the shortages and things coming up with all the supply chain issues, and who knows, we may lose the internet if we get in-peak. Buy your seeds, buy them now. Check my link to True Leaf Market for great details. True Leaf Market, you can get heirloom seeds, which are the kind of seeds you can plant and harvest the seeds from and get the same plant back again. They're open air pollinated heirloom, and they're non-GMO. So check out True Leaf Market. Check my link below. Now let's go in all this. I'm going to show you, and it's going to surprise you. What? There's my kitty cat. There's Freddy cat. We're going to show you what to expect here. The holes ain't what you're going to expect. You see those holes down there? They look like snake holes or some bug. That is a mole. Believe it or not, moles will make holes like that in your worm beds, because they're just tunneling everywhere, feeding on worms. Worms are moles' favorite food. Rabbit pellets are worms' favorite food. I got some of those in here too, and some wood chips. So look at that. See that? Get a good look at it. Now I'm going to show you where they Swiss cheesing in here a little bit to give you a better idea. And then we're going to talk about control. So we're going to identify the problem, and we're going to talk about control. The first control has failed, which is this bed. Now this bed's been here for maybe 3 years now. So it didn't fail immediately, but it's failed now. So maybe it's something that cracked. Now see here, they got some holes all in here, but they don't look like the burrows you're accustomed to seeing moles, because they don't have to make those kind of feeder tunnels when they're already in a worm bed.
Hey Greg.
There's moles in here everywhere. So there are moles all over the place. You can see those tunnels, especially here in the corners. So apparently they're coming up in from the corners and from the bottom. You know, this has got water in it. I don't know what they're doing. They're swimming. Moles are very creative. They'll do anything to get at your worms. You might think those are snake holes. They're not. So let me tell you about moles in general. What moles will generally do is they've got their nest dens, but those are deep down. You won't find those. What you find in your garden is their feeder tunnels. They make tunnels just for the purpose of catching worms, and they're right below the surface of the dirt. So what you will find is they're almost impossible to find in wooded areas like this. Maybe they don't make too many of them in the wooded areas like I'm in right now. There might be one back over here somewhere. Yeah, I might have one right here. But they're very few, and you got to break the leaves back to find them. And you usually won't find their feeder tunnels. Now that's not their main tunnels, by the way. The main tunnels that worms use are deeper in the ground. they have their own transit tunnels, the ones that they use to get around and from the burrows and back up to the feeder tunnels. So they have 2 levels of tunnels. Their main transit tunnels, kind of their subway, and their feeder tunnels. And if their feeder tunnels get crushed in, it's not the end of the world for them, okay? But that's where they go up to look for worms to eat. Now, all that said, the worms will go into those. So let's back up. What you need to know is that you have got to treat these beds. You got to treat them fast. And I got various treatments here. One thing you can use, believe it or not, is chewing gum. You want something like Wrigley's Spearmint is good. And what you do is you open this up and you just break it apart. This is all things to treat moles, guys. And I got to go into emergency mode here. I got to go into emergency mode and kill these worms. What you want to do with these is just break them off in little bitty strips. And of course it's not shattering the strips, and I'm trying to do it with one hand. So if you can break them off in little strips that look like a worm, that would be great. Just little worm looking strips. The moles tend to want to eat this for some reason. I don't know, I should have got the red. This might not be the best color. But when they eat this chewing gum, it stops up their intestines and they die from that. So this is one way to stop moles. I got a whole big pack of it here. I'm going to break all that up and toss it all in here, anywhere else we're finding for moles. Now, I like organic stuff. I'm an organic farmer, so I try to do everything organically. I went to the stores looking for for castor oil. Castor oil is one of the best things to use to treat moles, but I couldn't find any castor oil in one of the stores. After digging around, I did find I had some after all. This is what I was looking for, liquid castor oil. Now this is 100% castor oil, and this is good. And you put a hose to it, and it sprays out right here, and you can spray this on the ground. Now the deal with the castor oil is this. When the moles are going through their tunnels or through the ground where you spray the castor oil over, it seeps down, and it gets on their fur. Well, they try to lick it off their fur, and it gives them the runs. And that causes them to die. They get diarrhea, and it wipes them out. They die because of the diarrhea. They lick it off their fur, and it wipes them out. So castor oil is really the best thing, and it's organic, really, because castor oil is plant-based, and it will break down over time. You got to treat the ground about every 2 to 3 months with it. And there's various ways to treat it. But this castor oil, you can use it straight. And this is actually, I know this is 100% castor oil, so I don't even mind spraying this directly in the worm bed. This worm bed's an emergency. We have experimentally tried testing some castor oil in worm beds here in the past, and we didn't see any impact on the worms. I really want to do further testing to see if it's going to impact baby worms or worm reproduction. But right now we're in emergency triage. This bed's going to be treated with this stuff, and you just spray it in. I wouldn't spray it in, soaking wet like you would. You don't want to ever water your worm beds like that, but only like the way you'd water them. So that's what we're going to do with that. Now there's another thing you can get, which is these powdered granules. These granules are mostly castor oil. Now I've got 2 different kinds here. I've got one kind that's got castor oil 10%, and it's 90% inert ingredients. Well, that always bugs me with inert ingredients. Because it's inert ingredients, I'm not putting that directly in my worm bed. I don't know what that is. I might put it out here. But it should be inert, which means it should be reactive and non-poisonous totally. But, it just kind of bugs me to put so much. It's probably sawdust or something like that. Usually when it's inert, it's something like that. Here's another brand. That's Molmax, and this is Tomcat. It's about the same thing. The only difference is this is 9.9% castor oil, and this got 0.1% lectin. Well, lectin is nothing to get too worried about, my friends, because it's a food additive. It really comes from animal fats. So maybe it has some, and it's got Fuller's Earth. So the inert ingredient in this is Fuller's Earth. At least I know what it is. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. So there is one other thing that you can use in moles. For this, you got to find their burrows. And you take this and you jab it down in the burrow, and you open this up, and you put the pellets in here directly into the burrow, and then kind of close it up. I don't like using this stuff because this is actually a poison. I just want you to see this and know what it is. But this can be put in the burrows. But you can put that in the burrows. You can put that in the burrows. This is all good to put in the burrows if you find them. I've got this one I've seen over here. I mean, I almost never ever, I've gone years and not seen a single burrow out here. So if they're making a burrow, it just means there's tons of moles out here. There's overpopulation, and with that overpopulation, because the worms that escape from our worm beds that they're eating from, they have found a way to get into the worm bed, at least this one. I got one worm bed here and one back on that other side that has been penetrated by moles. So that's what we're going to do. Now this stuff here, and this is about the same thing. The application on this is, I don't even have a paper barrier in there. You spread these on the ground. It shows a teaspoon on the front. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be using a teaspoon. You put this is a 5-pound container here, and they say put a pound about every 500 square feet. Well, to give you an idea, that would be about 1/5 of this for a pound. And that would be spreading the grains out here on the ground. It says don't put them in water, so I wouldn't put them in there directly. But I just put them out on the ground everywhere. So what you do is you just scatter them out, you see? And then you water it with a hose pipe. Or if it's going to rain, the rain will do it for you, okay? You scatter them out. And the rate that you put them down is for every 500 square feet, you'd put about 1/5 of this. And it's about the same with that. That's 4 pounds, so you put about 1/4 of that bag. Same application. Now, here between these beds, it's about 5 foot between them. Some are more than others, some are 4. So on average, I'd say about 5 foot between these beds. That one over is more. But if you think about, I got 20-foot space, so I got about 500 square foot of room just right between these beds. And then you could put some more around them. But what this says to do is take like a 3-day approach. So one day you put it in the immediate area where you want to put it. The next day you expand it out, and the next day you expand it beyond that. Of course, they're saying put them where you don't have moles, where they hadn't infected yet. But, you know, I don't have any time for that. I got to do it. This is emergency triage. I got to put the castor oil out now. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to use chewing gum, castor oil. We got to go all out to get these worms out, or get these moles out of here. You know, a kick, and I always find a dry place to sit in the swamp. So that's what we got to do, guys. Emergency situation. Moles are trying to eat my worms up. I'm trying to get back in business. This is 90 square foot worm beds right here. That's like 90 pounds of worms. It could be ate up now, which would be several hundred pounds of worms like that won't have in the spring. So this throws me behind. Anytime I got another bed I got to repair over there and dig out too. I won't have to dig all this stuff out of this bed and find exactly where those moles are coming in. Unfortunately, right now this is a rainy season, so there's water in there. So I'm not going to be able to do a whole lot with it because of that. And hopefully, but I'm assuming they're getting in somewhere from underground. But worms can crawl. I mean, moles can crawl. I mean, we put gravel, we put wire, we put all kind of stuff in here to keep the moles out. We got this is all supposed to be tight. I redid some beds. I had a carpenter build back over here. He didn't do it right because I wanted to have the tin tight, and this is why, because he didn't really appreciate what I was trying to do. I spent a lot of money, paid him a lot of money, and he didn't do it. And I had some other people come in and fix it for me. See, he had all the 2x4s way back, way off, and the tin backed off. So we went and added 2x4s next to the tin. You can see we're putting fresh wood chips in here. So that's what we had to do, guys. The worms got to be safe, and you can't have the tin where you can't put the screws right into it and have it screwed down tight everywhere. So I need 2x4s straight up against the metal. That had to be that way. I told the guy how to do it. I showed him over here how we've done it in all these other beds, but he had to think for himself. And even though he was a very highly paid individual, he didn't quite follow my instructions, and it defeated what I was doing. And so I had to go rework it. And I reworked it with, you know, people that, you know, weren't paid as much, did a better job. That's usually what I find. Yeah. So, you know, that's the way it goes, guys. Everybody says, oh, you don't pay them enough. And it's got nothing to do with what you pay them, guys. It has nothing to do with it. I get the worst labor from the ones I pay the most to. It's always been the case. So, funny enough, that is true. Anyway, here we are. That's, once again, for a final look. That's your mole holes. Look like snake holes, but those are not snake holes. They are mole holes, trust me. And they will eat everything up in there. So that's it. They're not feeder tunnels, because they don't have to make feeder tunnels once they're in a worm bed. They just dig everywhere. Everywhere they're digging, they're getting worms. So they don't have to bother making feeder holes. That's why it's different. So there you are, my friends. You've seen how to identify mole holes in a worm bed. You understand that moles are the #1 enemy. You understand protective measures for keeping them out, the need to make them extremely tight. And I've got gravel in the bottom. I've got, and these need to be like 2 foot in the ground, because moles can dig down 2 feet. You want them 2 feet up because moles can climb. Oh yeah, moles are good climbers. So about 2 feet should discourage the moles from climbing. And maybe some of this old tin might be easier to climb. It was all new when I put it in here, so you can tell these are old beds right here. And I've showed you treatment measures, anything from chewing gum to the liquid castor oil to the granules of castor oil. I've showed you 2 types of granules, and I've even showed you the stinking poison, which I'm not a fan of. But there you go. You can trap moles. Oh yeah, put traps in the runs, put traps in the run. Everybody tells me that. Well, you don't ever find the runs, and when you do, and there's just like 1 or 2 in all your wooded area, believe you me, you're not going to catch. But you know, if you put traps there and you actually trap a mole, you're catching about 0.001% of them. I mean, like, you know, like 1 in 10,000 probably. I'm sure, well, it might be that low, but you're really having no effect on them. No effect. You might get a few moles every now and then. You're having no effect on the population. Trust me. Now, if you're out in the middle of the garden where there are mole runs everywhere and you can see them, yeah, you might have some effect on the population, but it ain't going to work here. So I got to take other measures. Anyway, that's it. Just wanted you to see that. That is what you do to treat moles. That's the best you can do. The castor oil will work. Now, where they're already in, I don't know if I can say the worms in here. We're going to try. We might dig. We got a worm bed we can dig out. We might move some of this stuff. And because this worm has been compromised, we might save a few. There's still a few worms in this compost. There's still a few because this just started. You give them a week or 2, there will be no worms here. Anyway, that's one of the things you can do. You can dig your beds out. As long as you don't dig any moles out with it, you can transfer it somewhere else. You don't want no baby moles either, so you better look what you're doing. And that's probably not the biggest moles getting here anyway. Those burrows are small. So that tells me that the little moles are the ones that's got in here. Anyway, thank y'all for watching, and wish everybody a great day. Bye.